Let's have a look at the biosphere, part of the ecosystems topic. So let's, if we go on to look at our keywords for this topic, so we can see we've got a finite resource, which is one that will eventually run out, like coal and oil. We've got the biosphere, which of course is the key thing for looking at today, and this is where living organisms exist on that part of the earth. Exploitation is how people use natural resources. And then a closed system, or example of one, is the water cycle, where water moves between the atmosphere, the oceans, and the land. Okay, just looking at these practice exam questions. So with this one, we can see we've got to look at what labeled as X. We can see it's here, located on the tropics. And from the previous work we've done before, we know they are the hot deserts. So we can put that down just as a simple state one mark question. Using figure 1, describe the global distribution of tropical forests. So the tropical forests, we can look down here and we can find which ones they are, the shading here. So we can see the tropical forests are in this area here. So from the work we've done before, we can follow the same pattern. First of all, we need to say whether they are north or south of the equator. Are they in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere? So by looking at this, we can see that they're actually in both hemispheres. We then need to talk about the tropics. So are these forests found between the tropics, or are they found north and south of the tropics? So again, we can see that they're between the tropics, so we can say how these tropical forests are found between the Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn. We could then go on to look again, like we've done before, at which continents they're found in. So we can see mostly they are found in South America, Africa, and Asia. You could then go on to mention a country in which they found. So, for example, over here in Brazil. You've obviously done some work previously on climates. And so how does the climate affect the distribution of large ecosystems? So obviously you could talk here about how temperature and rainfall particularly affects the type of ecosystem you will get. So at the equator here, we've got the tropical rainforests. So we've got the heat because of the concentration of the sun, but also we've got the rainfall due to the rising air, which is then cools very quickly, creating heavy rainfall. You've got the location of your hot deserts. So that's where the air is sinking, where the air has risen at the equator and is sinking at the tropics. So part of the Hadley cell. So the sinking high pressure, which means we have no rainfall, which means we end up with our deserts. So we're looking at the biosphere today. And so you can see, as it says in our definition here, the biosphere refers to the regions of the surface and the atmosphere of the Earth or another planet occupied by living organisms. And of course, you could do a sketch of that to illustrate it. Now, biospheres are vital for us and vital for everything that happens on the Earth. They provide us with the food we eat. They provide us with many of our medicines. They provide us with the building material for our homes. And they are a source of fuel as well. Now, modern technology has maybe reduced our dependence on the biosphere, but it's also led to us using it even more. So for the extraction of building materials, for example, or the getting rid of forest to create more farmland. So how do humans exploit the biosphere? Well, demand for water is one huge demand of the biosphere, and that's that fresh, clean drinking water, which is having a major effect upon it. Biofuels. So as we try to reduce our impact on the planet through climate change, we're starting to actually grow fuels. So we can grow sort of biodiesel, for example. However, that means we then end up destroying areas that might have been forest originally. And of course, minerals. So our demand for minerals has increased massively as we exploit more and more and have more and more products that we need. So you need to have a think about how you rely on the biosphere. And you can see you've got these 4 areas here. So you could complete this diagram to think about how you use the biosphere. Here's a completed version of that diagram. So these are all ways in which these could be used. So again, you can have pause here, have a look at these, and you can add any to your booklet that you have not already used. The nutrient cycle. So this is about how nutrients are transferred in the ecosystem, how they go between different parts of the ecosystem. Now, the Bechamel model, this is a key factor and a key thing that you will look at with your ecosystems. So let's just have a quick look at what this is. So it's showing us the stores of nutrients in these circles, and then it shows us the movement of nutrients in these arrows. The size of the circle represents the amount of stored nutrients, and the size of the arrow represents the amount of nutrients that are moving. So if we start to have a look through this as a model, so we can see that plants and animals will die, and as they rot, they decompose, and their nutrients go into the soil store down here through decomposition. So we've got leaves falling and decomposition of plant leaves and animals coming in here. Then the plants will grow and they will take up those nutrients. So we've got the leaves falling, leaves decomposing, nutrients being taken up. We can see, however, that some nutrients are lost through runoff, so by the rain, and leaching. Again, this is water through the soil. Now, the biosphere is made up, as we looked at previously, of the biotic components, bio meaning life. So these are the things that allow biotic components to survive and grow. And the abiotic, so water, light, temperature, atmosphere, and soil. Now, let's have a look at a couple of exam questions. So in an ecosystem, abiotic and biotic components are interdependent. Define the term biotic. So this would probably be a 1-mark question in your exam. So the term biotic refers to living organisms in an ecosystem, animals and plants. And what type of trees do we find in a boreal forest? A boreal forest would typically be home to evergreen trees such as fir. Willow and mountain ash have also been known to grow here. On lower levels, there would be moss, lichen, and herb species. We can see here you've got a part to complete, so you're going to complete the gaps here in this question. Explain in your own words how the distribution of large ecosystems is related to climate, so just like we looked at the beginning. And here you can see a model answer for that. Okay, so that was a quick run through on the biosphere, which hopefully will help you complete your booklet.